There's Brad Rep. I got that email from you. Thank you. Very helpful.
Hey, it's Bob. Before you start, Samantha, can you call me, please? Sorry.
Okay.
I was waiting for her to go, hey, Bob.
Sorry about that. Thank you.
Okay, we're on mute. Al, can you hear us okay?
I can hear you now, yes.
Good, okay. This is strange. Okay. Good afternoon, everybody. It's just a little past 2 o'clock. We'll call to order the meeting of the salary board for county commissioners today, June 14. And we'll start with the roll call. The members present, please.
Commissioner Eichelberger.
Present.
Commissioner Quashie. I'm here. Commissioner DiFilippo.
Present.
Controller Whitcomb.
Here.
Okay, very good. At this point, moving on to item 3, we have public comment reserved for anyone wishing to address issues of the salary board, just of the salary board. So do we have anything on the salary board? No. Okay. Okay, we'll move on to item 4. And that is the salary board actions. Need a motion.
I will move to approve salary board actions.
I'll second that motion.
Okay, it's moved and seconded and third. All in favor indicate by saying aye.
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 Motion carries. All right, item 5, we have the minutes of the meeting from June 1. Also need action.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes.
Moved and seconded, all in favor indicate by saying aye.
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 Motion carries. Thank you. Any additional business to come before the salary board? Nothing. Okay, at this point, I'll entertain a motion for adjournment of the salary board. Move to adjourn. Adjourn. We'll move now into the meeting of the Board of Commissioners, and we open the pledge of allegiance. Pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, we'll open with a roll call of members present, please.
Commissioner Eichelberger.
Present.
Commissioner Quashie. I'm here. Commissioner DiFilippo.
Present. Okay, thank you. At this point, we have opportunity for public comment for any issues that are not already on the agenda. Okay, have anything additional to offer? Let's see, nothing. So, okay, we'll move on. We have item 4. We have in hand the minutes of our meetings from May 27 and June 1. Desire action on those today, if possible.
I'll move to approve the minutes of May 27th and June 1.
Second. Moved and seconded. All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Okay, we have personnel transactions in hand as well. Those require action.
Move to approve the personnel transactions, excuse me.
I second.
It's moved and seconded. All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Okay, item 6, we have the presentation regarding the financing issue in regards to Central Penn College. Thank you folks for being here today. And Mr. Giorgione, I believe you're presenting.
Is it okay if I stand here?
Absolutely.
All right. Thank you. I'm Andy Giorgione, Buchanan, Ingersoll, and Rooney. We are solicitors to the Cumberland County Industrial Development Authority, and we're also bond counsel as well for this deal. So the way we're going to proceed is I was just going to give you a brief summary of the deal. I was then going to turn it over to the college to do a presentation, and they're going to talk about, what they're doing, the transaction, the change in the structure of the college, and then talk a little bit about the financial health of the college and what they expect going forward in their projections. And then we're going to open it up to any questions that you have. So, one of my partners who is bond counsel is on the phone in Pittsburgh. The underwriter is also on the phone from Stifel. He's in Minneapolis. I suggested it'd be okay if they just participated in that manner rather than travel down here. And then the college team is here, and their consultants are also here as well too. So, and of course, your financial advisor and solicitor. So anybody you have a question for, we should have answers for you. So the basic structure is the IDA is being asked to issue the debt up to 20 million. Right now, the estimate is it's going to be about 16 and a half million. So our IDA will be issuing the debt, and then they will loan it to a special purpose entity affiliated with the college for purposes of they will be converting themselves from a for-profit ESOP-owned facility to a nonprofit college. And the president will talk a little bit about the advantages of doing that. One of the critical parts of this and why we're here with you is part of the request of the underwriters and the financing team is for the county to provide a backstop essentially to the transaction. And that backstop would be to replenish the debt service reserve fund. So as part of the deal, as part of the 16.5 million, there'll be approximately $1 million that will be set aside. That will be a reserve fund for the payment of debt service if the college is unable to make those payments for the debt. And then if that happens and the reserve fund is tapped for a payment, then your obligation would then be step in to replenish it. And you'll see in the documents in your solicitor, when he gets the opportunity to digest them, I just got him the document today, the debt service reserve fund replenishment agreement. You'll see the circular nature of what happens then. The college then has to reimburse you. And but certainly if we're in a situation that the debt reserve is being hit, that's not a good thing. But that's what you're being asked to do. For purposes of the action you're going to take, we need you to authorize an ordinance. You have a draft of it in front of you today. We're not asking you to approve it today. We'd like to come back, and the schedule, which we'll talk about as well too, is very important. We'd like to come back and have that approved on the 28th in 2 weeks. Okay. I don't think I have anything else to share just about the general overall structure. So what I'm going to do then is just turn it over to the college and its representatives.
Good afternoon, everybody.
Good afternoon, commissioners. I'm Dr. Linda Padrizzi Williams. I'm the president of the college. I want to thank you again for having me and my colleague, Dr. Krista Wolf, here today and our consultants to continue our discussion about the college's journey to becoming a nonprofit institution. Your endorsement of the ordinance as just presented today, it's vital for us to successfully complete this transition from a for-profit ESOP-owned institution to a nonprofit institution of higher education. The main thing it does for us is open new opportunities for resources outside of tuition, and it allows us to recruit faculty and staff, and also equally important, it permits the college to expand the delivery of our community benefits to the residents of Cumberland County and the Central Pennsylvania region. I know that you're familiar with the college's 140-year history in our area. It's our anniversary year of 140 years, and the Milano family owned the college for 50 years, and through their leadership, the college became an accredited degree-granting institution in 1977. And at that time, we had a handful of certificates that we offered to the residents of Cumberland County. And now today, we have 21 different degrees from associate's, bachelor's, and master's degree levels. And just this past year with the pandemic and looking at the high priority occupations, we rolled out 21 different certificates for our residents. What I am most proud about as president is our ability to educate students that need flexible options. We offer career-focused, accelerated, affordable education to a lot of our students that otherwise would never have an opportunity to attend an institution of higher education. Our students have work responsibilities, family responsibilities, and for them, a traditional residential institution just isn't something that fits within their schedule. We serve a vital role in educating the working poor in our region. For some of our students who never thought that they could go to college, we're able to provide that opportunity. The average family income of our students, family income is $49,000 or less. 93% of our students work at least part-time. Our students, 63% have children. These are working class people putting themselves through school. And with our college, we give them that flexibility to do it quickly. Our alumni also tell a powerful story. We have 12,000 living alumni, 14% live right here in Cumberland County, and 93% live within a 100-mile radius of the Somerdale campus. Because we recruit in this region, in these 7 counties, our students stay local. They stay in this region. Over the decades, and I know I don't need to tell you this, Cumberland County has become an increasingly attractive location for businesses to locate and grow and expand their businesses. And part of it is that our residents' educational attainment is attractive for employers coming to this region. And we are proud to offer a piece of that puzzle. In fact, Dr. Wolf and I both live in Cumberland County. We both have sons. They all attend CV school district. So we're very proud residents of this county as well. Our college employees also live here. We have about 170 employees, faculty, and staff that support 1,000 students. And a recent economic report that was conducted by the Social Enterprise Institute calculated that the college's contribution to the local economy to be about $40 million of annual economic stimulus just to Cumberland County. Additionally, we're expanding our community benefits through some innovative programming. Our corporate education program is one of our new benefits that we have in the community. We go to local businesses and organizations, we do an in-depth assessment, find out what their employees' needs are, and then we create customized curriculum that's beneficial for that employer. And we do it on their time in a flexible format in a way that their employees can continue their education, and then transfer that certificate into an associate or bachelor degree. And as for high schools, we're equally as excited about that community benefit. There are a lot of students that want to work right after graduating from high school, and that's an option that we should have for our students. So we are working with Cumberland Valley High School and Milton Hershey High School. And they're our first two high schools that we're working with, and we're creating programs where high school seniors can take college credits in their senior year, and when they graduate, have a professional certificate in phlebotomy or medical assisting or another high priority occupation, so that they are literally earning a living when they graduate. And that can transfer into an associate's or bachelor's degree. The benefits of increasing our citizens' educational attainment, it's critical for attracting new people to our area, and it gives our students a steady career path, a steady financial life, and a way to achieve larger dreams if that's something that they're thinking about. And our community's quality of life is better when our neighbors have access to affordable college education. We're situated in a growing region in Pennsylvania. That's exciting for us. We love that we're able to be attentive to our community's needs and create programs quickly. And the nonprofit conversion allows us to fully see our mission through. For us, this is something that makes the college more financially strong. We're in a position now where we've been working on this for 5 years. Our faculty and staff petitioned our board of directors to say we wanted to be a nonprofit back in 2016, and it's taken us this long to figure out the financial pieces to pay off that ESOP. For perspective, we currently have, and we're burdened with, an anywhere from $1 to $2 million ESOP payout that we have to give every year to people who retire from the college or cash in their shares. That goes away with the nonprofit conversion. We will not have that unpredictable amount anymore. And we have forecasted 5-year projections to see where we could be in 5 years with a new advancement office that allows us to fundraise, have capital campaigns, seek grants from local foundations and the state and the federal government. And we're anticipating that within 5 years, just from advancement initiatives alone, that we can bring in $16.4 million to our college. And that for us is substantial. So in order to accomplish all of this, why we're here today, we need to complete this conversion to a nonprofit institution quickly. It needs to happen soon for us. It's truly the next part of our evolution from what has happened and been passed down family to family through the Milano family. And now it's our next stage in our evolution. And this involves the issuance of 501c3 private activity bonds that will fund our refinancing and our restructuring. And a key role is the county's agreeing to provide a credit enhancement in the form of a debt reserve replenishment agreement as being proposed in the ordinance that you just received. Krista and I are both appreciative of your willingness to meet with us today to hear this out. And we're really hoping that you consider our invitation to be part of a historic journey with the college by passing the ordinance, expanding our capacity to educate at-risk students, and providing expanded community benefits. So the team is assembled. We're happy to answer any questions that you have or provide additional information. Thank you.
Questions?
What is the annual tuition at Central Penn Police?
It's about $24,000, and that's for 4 terms, not
Okay.
just 2 semesters. That's to go
4 terms.
all year long, right?
Thank you.
Yeah.
I don't have any questions. We had a very thorough presentation from you before. I appreciated that. It was exceedingly interesting and helpful. So the only question I have, I guess, is obviously the county accepts a degree of risk in the transaction. So I just wanted to double check with the solicitor. Anything that you feel need to summarize that Mr. Giorgio has not already covered?
Not really. Of course, you've engaged BFM to do an analysis of that risk, and that will be done later. I think for purposes of the meeting today, they're looking for the board's authorization to advertise the ordinance at some point in the future. And when that ordinance is advertised by that time, there are a number of documents. One that would be critical to the county will be completed and provided to Mr. Remy, who would then provide an opinion before that ordinance is passed. So you know the risk and the level of that risk that you're.
Good.
The ordinance itself, just quickly, it's pretty standard, nothing different than what you've seen in the past. 3 critical things you're going to do. 1, authorize and acknowledge the debt is being issued. 2nd, authorizing the professionals to go forward with a filing of the proceeding with DCED, because this is a debt proceeding for the county that has to be approved by the state. And then the 3rd, entering into that debt service reserve fund replenishment agreement, which will be attached to the ordinance in final form. The draft, again, has been provided just today to your solicitor, but we're hoping in the next couple of weeks to get them comfortable and, of course, get your financial advisor comfortable with the numbers that have been provided by the college. So, pretty simple. I can answer any questions in the ordinance. When we come back in a couple of weeks, we can even talk about it in more detail if you wish.
I have no questions on the ordinance. Brad, did you have anything that you wanted to?
Nope, they're being very helpful with sharing information, everything that we're asking for. Maybe there's a couple things that we'll still be looking for. The group has been very forthcoming and helpful in terms of getting us what we need to provide that risk analysis for the county.
Excellent. Thank you. Looking forward to that. Okay. All right. So if there's no other questions, we do want action on this today.
Right, you want to.
Oh, I'm sorry, you said
We have motion to advertise the
to
ordinance.
advertise. Okay. All right. So we are looking for a motion to authorize the advertising.
I'll make a motion that we move ahead and advertise ordinance 2021, which is the acknowledging the issuance of bonds and proceed with the debt acting file.
Give me a second.
I'm going to second that motion.
Okay. So the motion's on the floor, it has been seconded. Any further questions before we vote?
Mr. Brennan. So even though we are going ahead and doing this motion today, we are not putting the county at risk at this point in time. And we don't have the risk assessment yet to really know what we're delving into.
That's correct.
Okay.
And you won't be doing anything until you have that risk assessment. And that will come before you're asked to approve the ordinance in final form.
And I think it's important for the public to know that, because I think this becomes very confusing for members of the public to understand what just happened today. Okay, thank you very much.
Okay. Call the vote then. All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. None opposed, the motion carries unanimously. Very good. Thank you, folks.
Thank you.
Take care.
Right, see you. Thank you.
Okay, and one, we have item 8, we all have another presentation. This is in regards to the Orcs Bridge causeway that was there. We have the Conor McWinnet and Mr. Blanchfield is here with friends to present to us.
Thank you. I guess we're not going to need this. So we want to whenever that's ready, in case there's people on Zoom. I don't know if they're connected. There's a few people from our neighborhood that said they might want to join via Zoom. So first of all, thank you to the commissioners for giving us this opportunity. Last month, we were given a kind of a brief session. So we introduced the topic. I'll go through some of those points, but most of what I'm going to cover today is new material. So you asked the presentation you sent last Friday, which we did. So I think you can probably skip this slide. I guess one other thing I would add is this is for the community. I mean, the creek is one of the jewels of the county, one of the jewels of Hampton Township. So it's a lot of people that are passionate about this. So was that the next slide? Okay. So these are some image. No, will you go back? I think there was, go back. Oh. Is that the presentation from I sent Friday?
Just double check.
Yeah.
Mr. Redfield, do you want my copy?
Sure.
You're fine.
The one, there's like 23, slide 22.
Okay, let me just double check that.
Yeah, this looks like the one from last month. Let me see, I have one. It's page 2, says updated June 12th. Updated June.
Yes, I apologize.
Okay, that's okay. You can pull that one out.
Where's that one?
It's one of those days of technical.
Okay. Yeah, this is different.
Happy.
Okay, does that look better? Oh, I'm just gonna give it a second.
Yep.
Does that look better?
Okay, then page 2, I think says updated in June. So I just thought for the benefit of everybody, people maybe don't know the history of the dam. Quite interesting because a lot of people reached out in our neighborhood and the adjoining neighborhoods and said, did you know this? The dam is actually much older than you might realize. I didn't know that. So I didn't even know there was a dam. I think everybody in our neighborhood didn't realize there actually was a dam there. So I thought, let's just give us a minute to walk through this and I'll show some photographs. But one resident said they have a really old photo, I think from around 1920, maybe earlier. Quite interesting, that shows the dam. There's a better quality photo, which we'll see, and we're guessing that's from the 40s. Better quality, that shows a dam. Then there was a 1960 permit that was provided by the county, thank you for that. And that was a permit to build a dam. There was a 1985 permit to either maintain the old dam or build a new dam. And we're not exactly sure what happened. We think they ended up building a new dam. So there's been dams since, I mean, here we are 2021 for the last 100 years, roughly, based on this. 2008, there was a document that we found that indicated that the dam was inspected and had been breached, probably from the spring rains and ice melt. It happens quickly and logs come down. And the DEP said no further actions are required. There was some question whether it needed to be breached. They investigated, found it was already breached. So they were not requiring anybody involved with it to take any further action to do with that dam. So the fact that it was breached in 2008 means the water levels went down by some amount because it was broken through. So continuing forward, 2015, initial discussions to replace the Orcs Bridge. I was one of the residents, but I know there were multiple residents that reached out and said, we're concerned because there are two elevations, because there's this kind of rapid section in the water. And we would like that to be not disturbed. I didn't know it was a dam. I just thought it was the creek bed. So for multiple documents after the project started, multiple documents from the county, from the engineering firm, HRG, all this said that that dam would not be impacted. And I think the latest copy that I have only on my computer showed some of those files, but that's okay. I'm sure you know what I'm talking about. So the new construction began in April of 2019. Even the site plan from HRG, the engineering firm from Harrisburg that managed the project, their drawings say to protect and preserve the dam. So every piece of recorded information about this said, don't touch the dam. Really, there's only two things to say don't touch: spring and the dam. So that's just, I thought it'd be interesting, good for us to all agree on the facts. And if I said anything wrong, please straighten me out on that. So that's the purpose really of today, is to get everybody on the same level as far as the what has happened. You can go to the next slide. The dam level, the water level dropped significantly last summer. I reached out to Kirk Stoner and he said it would be restored. So he said, it turns out we had to remove the dam or part of the dam, but it will be restored. Last year, again, also county documents say will not be impacted. Then when the dam was finally replaced with a very different dam, much taller dam, directed all the water to just one side, residents complained it was too tall. It created a lot of still water. So it only allowed water out on one edge. So if you were on the wrong side, you had still water, mosquitoes, algae, you name it. So there was a lot of complaints. Some of those complaints went to the DEP. DEP said, what are you doing building a dam? You had no permit. You need to remove the dam. And I guess there was a fine imposed on the county from what I understand. So then when the water levels dropped to record low, we're estimating 1.5 to 2 feet below what it was. So along the park in Point Bridge Farms, it's probably 6 inches deep up until the last 2 days we had some rain. But before the last 2 days, you couldn't pass. You had to get out and walk your kayak or canoe. So we saw last weekend, not the one we just passed, the one before, lots of people walking in the creek, walking with their dogs, because you can't pass anymore. And we're not in the summer yet. We're still in the spring. Okay, so you gave us a brief introduction opportunity last month. Thank you for that. We did start a petition. I have a copy of the petition, and I'd like to pass this out to you to show where we are as far as signatures go. We have 430 signatures now and growing.
Thank you.
You're welcome. And let's see, I also, so go ahead, please. You can skip to the next slide. This is an interesting photo. The very first bridge, if you didn't know, was a covered bridge. That's pretty interesting. So you see the covered bridge, and just to the left, upstream, you see a dam. If you would zoom in, I'm not asking you to zoom in, but you'll see the bubbles, the white. So that indicates it's not just a couple inches. It was enough of a drop to have some turbulence. So keep that in mind. That's an image we're guessing from the 40s. Obviously, it was before that covered bridge was removed. So you go to the next slide. This is the older photo someone brought, and we don't know the date. We're guessing the 20s or earlier. One resident said that it goes back even much further. So it's all speculation, but early settlers, Native Americans had a dam there to wash and bathe. I don't know if that's true, but very interesting what people have come forth with that have lived here for generations. So it's been a community item for a long, long time. You can go to the next slide, please. Okay, there I blew up the old photo, pretty grainy photo, but there is that exact same line. If you skip back a couple slides on the 1940 image, which have better clarity, it's the exact same dam. So the dam's been here a long time. Okay, you can skip to the next slide. This is a drawing from the 1960 permit. It shows an existing dam with a little squiggly line, and then to the right of that, it shows a new proposed dam. So we don't know, we haven't found any records that would say which they went with, but it appears that they moved with this new rock dam, which is in the hashed line, just adjacent to the bridge. Anyone who's familiar with where the rock dam was located, it was right adjacent to the bridge. So this was part of the permit from 1960. The next slide, I think, shows, okay, so now we're moving up. 2010. These are photos from 2010 I found on bridgehunter.com. These are the Pennsylvania bridges. So remember, 2008, it was breached. So the water levels dropped by some amount. But even in 2010, you see an upstream type of creek where it's still water. And then in the distance, you see some rapids and a downstream. So there's clearly two different heights. On the right, this is taken from downstream, 2010. These aren't my photos. So there you see more of a rapidly moving water. Next slide, please. This was one of our residents who's here today, and he spends a lot of time on the creek, had his dog with him, and he went back in his files and saw a 2018 photo. So remember, we had 2008 breach, we had 2010 images. And so this is 2018. He just happened to have his picture with his dog and his boat, and you can see the bank. So then he said, let me go out and take another picture. I'll try to get the same angle. And he did that in May, just last month. So you see a significant drop, somewhere 1.5 to 2 feet below. So same angle, same creek, same time of year. And next I'll show you the water flow that we've had in the creek, so you know we're getting the same water flow. Okay, 2015, this is first news about the new dam. This came from a New Sentinel article. Again, you see kind of a still area. You see the dam, which has been breached in 2008, and in the far distance is a different level. You can go to the next slide. Okay, there's data collected at the Hoagstown, I don't know if I'm pronouncing that correctly, location. So it measures the water flow, the amount of water, and it measures height. Height really doesn't matter. It's so far upstream, it doesn't really have an impact on the height by the Orcs Bridge. Water flow does. So what it shows, if you look at the yellow line, that's like an 87-year average. That's what happens every year. So if you go in 2020, like March or April, what's the same? April rain, spring, May, April showers, spring, May flowers. So April is the most water of the year comes through. And in 21, April had the most water. So it just shows that we've actually had no change in the amount of water coming through. So if you have the same amount of water coming through, but yet your water level dropped by 2/3, what happened? So it's not because you don't have enough water. I mean, it's because the dam was removed. Okay, you can go to the next slide. The next slide shows the height. And as I mentioned earlier, this is the height up in Hoagstown. Really doesn't have a lot of impact on, I don't know, 10 miles down, 15 miles down. But the spikes are when you get rains, and then it drops back down. But this doesn't support any claim that the change in rains have anything to do with the depth of the water. So go to the next slide, please. This is some correspondence I had with Kirk Stoner. I don't know if he's here or on the phone. Oh, okay, great. You might remember this. So I had inquired why have the creek levels dropped so much, and initially the response was we're unaware of any construction-related issues that would require that would impact water levels. Well, a week later, that was revised saying, okay, I guess we are aware, and we had to remove the dam, but it will be restored. I mean, it's clearly stated. So you can skip that slide. This is when the Coffer Dam was being built as part of the construction process, and we saw a big drop in water levels. That's because on the far end of the creek, there's a big wide section that no longer has a dam. So when they were building it, they built the Coffer Dam and closed up half the creek and opened up the other half. We saw, and that was in June of 20, we saw drops in water levels starting then. So they were already removing the dam, midstream of the whole project. You can go, and you can see it, the dam is really just a bunch of rocks. This is towards the end of the project, removing the old bridge. And it's maybe tough to tell here, but on the left side, you see rubble from the old bridge,
concrete boulders, rebar, and that. On the right side, you see what looks like it was the temporary causeway to allow the construction equipment in. And then in the foreground on the right, maybe that was the old rock dam. So when the contractor was asked to clean this up, I don't know what they were told, they just swept it all clean. I mean, how would you know? Don't touch these rocks, only take these rocks. I mean, there's no way I could know. So today, if you go out on this location, is there any dam left? No, it's absolutely been swept clean. Yet, for a year and a half, every month update said we will not touch the rock dam. So you can go to the next slide. Okay, opening coming soon, the rock dam's gone. But it will be restored. We were assured it will be restored. You can go to the next slide. And it was restored, but it was built too tall. I don't think this is the completed image. It's the only one I was provided. But you can see that all the flow was on one side, and you can see the still water on the other side, and complaints from all the neighbors in that area. I wasn't actually in town at the time. I think the bridge was only up for a week, so I never saw the bridge. One of the residents of Pinebrook sent me this image. You can go to the next slide. Okay, so we're about done. These are some images from Google. You can see, I'm hoping we all know what the old rock dam was. It was adjacent to the bridge, just up, 20, 30 feet, 40 feet. It looks like it was breached on the one image on the far right, where you can see areas that the rock dam is no longer. But now that it's been swept clean, the water levels have dropped. The use of the creek has dropped. It's for the whole community. I mean, I think, Evan, you had mentioned, we talked the other day, every weekend in the summer, between 100 and 150 kayakers we see, or rafters, and the last couple weekends that were hot, next to zero. So, because you can't get through. So the next slide, I think, says what our, okay, no, sorry, I have it committed to memory. This was in April. Now, you remember the chart, the water flow? The most flow is in April. So this is in April, and it's very, very shallow. So various people built decks and walls and like seawalls. And the water is far below where it used to be. Okay, April 6th. Next slide, please. Still in April. This is on this, you can see no dam, it's very still. This is when the most amount of water comes through. So what our concern is it's only going to get worse. Remember the chart. May, June, July, there's less and less and less water. So 2 weeks ago, we were walking in the creek because you couldn't kayak. It's only going to get worse. So I double checked with the DEP because one of the county officials mentioned that they had permission to put the dam in. And maybe it was verbal, I'm not challenging anything, but I just double checked with the DEP. Richard Riesinger, he said, all permits for dams come through me. He said there was no dam, there was no permit to put that dam. That's why you were asked to remove it. So DEP in red, at the bottom of the red was the new material. DEP will consider approving a new permit. They've told me, haven't put it in writing, but they said they will. They said, of course, it needs to be built to current standards, obviously. It needs to be built to provide safe passage for fish and kayakers, obviously. So I think the next slide is the last slide. And this is our ask. We asked that the commissioners agree to restore the rock dam to the same height, same width as what was there last year, which was reduced from some years ago. Remember, it was breached. It used to meet the design requirements. And as a last thing, although I've not, if you skip to the bottom statement in red, the Point Ridge Farm Civic Association may consider, I haven't been given approval yet, but may consider maintaining, if that's what it would take. Turns out that Point Ridge had been maintaining, and probably Pine Brook, maybe other people, had been paying to maintain this dam for a long time. So I don't know what happened, when it stopped, but
if the county puts the dam in, I would believe that we could come to an agreement where our civic association would support taking the responsibility to maintain it. So at this point, all we're asking is you agree to submit an application to the DEP to get the approval to build a dam. Any questions?
Again, that would just be consistent with what the public statements were of the county through the whole process of building the new bridge.
Do you agree with that?
Well, you said it wouldn't be impacted. We were on the way to rebuilding it when DEP told us to take it out. DEP, it has regulatory authority over waterways. When they tell us to take something out, we don't hesitate. We take it out. When they tell us to take it out to the stream bottom, we take it out. When they give us an MOB for a full-length causeway, we listen to that immediately. So in this case, I mean, we're doing exactly what the regulatory authorities told us to do.
Yeah, I have a comment as well. Those pictures where you have the dog on the canoe.
Yeah.
USGS has a great website and they're able to give you information on a daily basis.
Okay.
As far as water level and water flow. And one picture is from May 8th, 2018, which was a year we received 65 inches of rain. And according to the USGA website at the Hoaxtown discharge site where they have the measurements, at 4 p.m., May 8th, 2018, which is the one picture, the amount of water being discharged at Hoaxtown was 680 cubic feet. And the water level at the Hoaxtown site was 2.5 feet.
Okay.
On May 2nd, 2021, which was the other picture where it does show the water level is lower, no doubt about that. The water level at the Hoaxtown site at 4 p.m. was 1.82 feet. And the amount of water being discharged was 300 cubic feet. So you're comparing 300 cubic feet to 680 cubic feet, which is a significant lesser amount. So to me, the reason the water levels are lower on May 2nd, 2021, it's a simple fact that the volume of water in the entire stream is considerably less.
Yeah, I don't know.
I can't see where this dam, which I don't even consider it a dam at the time, I consider it a pile of rocks, was the reason, the removal of that was the sole reason of the lower water level. To me, it's very clear here, the water is lower because there's less water in the stream.
Can we go back a couple of slides? Because that data came from, well, let's see.
You want to go back to the,
My data is for the specific dates of those pictures.
Right. Go back one more. This is from these, so the blue lines are daily lines. So you get spikes, you get rain, you get heavy rain. We had rain last night. And so, and then the yellow is the 87-year average. But so the 87-year average indicates, you know, things haven't really changed that much. But go back to the yearly, go back to, let's see, 2000, was it May of 21? All right, I see one spike, and then it's followed by going down, and then go to May of 20. There's a spike in May of 20, so, okay, the spike went a little higher, but that's just the way it works. I mean, you don't get rain for a week, and then you get a couple of days of rain, and so, but clearly, and I'm sure we could find the 430 people that signed the petition, you'd probably get, you know, a big number of them that would say, no. The day they removed the dam, within the next day, the water level dropped. So the same day, so the same week, the same time, same year, and it dropped significantly.
Maybe that's true, maybe it's not, but I'm just saying the dates of these pictures, the facts tell me that there is less water in that stream. That's the reason the water level is lower, or at least that is a significant reason, in my opinion. I'm not a hydrologist.
Yeah.
To me, this is common sense.
Yeah, I would, maybe we should have a just explain this chart, because I didn't put, this is just from the data collected there at Oakstown. Seems like the water flow is pretty consistent between this 2021 and 2020.
My name's Evan Jenkins, and I've lived on the creek for 41 years now. The water level right now is about the same level it was when we were going through a drought emergency 10 or 15 years ago. I built a wall down there. It's a small wall, and I built the wall on bedrock when there's hardly any water in the stream. That's the way it is today. And it's not so much, I think, for people who live on the stream. It's for the whole community that I'm happy when I see all these people coming down in their kayaks, canoes, and everything else. We had 2 warm days, and I only have 2 observations, but we had 2 days when it was up in 90. I was expecting a lot of the usual crowd coming down. There was maybe a dozen people in kayaks. Most of them were walking the kayaks and people walking their dogs.
Kurt, I have a question for you. You sent me, I think, pretty much this entire file, and I've read it. This original plan that Cumberland County put together, did DEP review it?
For permit purposes, yes.
Okay, so this Orrs Bridge replacement, September 30th of 2015, they reviewed all these plans. They clearly saw that we were going to put the now unpermitted rock dam back in the water.
I mean, that was the intent, yeah.
Yeah, so, but they saw the plans. Okay, so I am baffled and befuddled by all of these letters from the Army Corps of Engineers and from DEP telling us to take it out. You know, if DEP knew it was going in, and I'm reading all of this, they knew that we were going to put it back. If I'm remembering correctly from reading these, Kurt, they would not come out and take a walk of the stream with you and take a look at what was going on. They just said, get the rock dam back in it, get it out. We put it back per the plan, now you go take it out. And I don't understand then why they would be encouraging citizens to come to us and say, just ask for another permit. I don't get it. I am completely baffled by it. And Mr. Blanchard, you and I have talked about this, and I just cannot get past that piece that we did exactly what that plan said. And
Sounds like we
Here
need
we
to get 3 parties. We need to get the residents, the county, and the DEP in a room.
And I told you I would be happy to sit down
That's
with
great.
all
I
of
think
those
that's a
groups
good next step.
and talk about it. But I was very clear, you know, how much did it cost to dismantle it? And how much did it cost for us to put in this boat launch to appease DEP and the Army Corps of Engineers? It is very disappointing to me. It is, to me, Mr. Blanchfield, it is the biggest piece of bureaucracy I've ever seen. And I don't think that DEP understood the difference between a causeway and that rock. When I read this, that's what I think happened. And if someone had walked out there with Kirk, I think we'd still have it in the water.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think that's what happened. They didn't know what to remove and they just cleaned it all up.
Yeah, well, and I by DEP's order,
Right.
right?
Yeah.
By DEP's
Well,
order.
as far as the replacement.
Yeah.
Well, DEP's told me they would entertain a new permit. They sent me the form. You have the forms,
Yeah.
but. So that's one course of action. We don't get together, okay, you told Mr. Blanchfield you would. Here's our permit request. Then the community gets back what they had.
And how much does that cost? And are they coming back
I
and
don't
going,
care.
take it out, right? And I read this history, okay? And I read this history where it becomes evident to me that it was phone calls from people that lived there complaining about that rock dam that caused some of this. Okay, so I think some people don't want it. I think some people do want it. And I really think if DEP wants us to do this, then they have to be in agreement and say, okay, we're gonna foot the bill.
Yeah, let them pay for it.
I'm gonna tell you right now, I would be happy to vote in favor of that, but they have to pay for it.
Kurt, the settlement that was reached to resolve the issue, because DEP considers it resolved, the commissioners have considered it resolved. Is there an opportunity, if we chose to go that route, to renegotiate that? Because we've already agreed to one thing that we're on the hook for. And doesn't seem quite fair that, given the interplay of events here, that we're then put on the hook for another thing, especially sorry, but I have to say it, the questionable value. I mean, photographic evidence is not really good evidence because water levels change by the hour. I can only go, and frankly, the names on this petition are from all over the state and all over the country. And I cannot really accept that these people have enough experience in that to really render an informed judgment. I cannot render an informed judgment at this point, other than I can tell you the last 20 years, I probably kayaked that passage 10 times. I have never yet been able to get through without boarding my kayak.
Yeah, I've kayaked many times. I've never had to get out of my kayak.
Yeah.
So I don't
About
know.
the Good Hope Dam?
Yeah.
You'd have to portage around the Good Hope Dam or where?
This site.
I don't know.
This site.
I don't know what you're talking about. I've never had that problem.
Okay, but my point is that one person's history is not necessarily another person's history because of the dynamic nature of the situation. And so I only know my personal experience. Everybody else is calling on their personal experience. So, and it really doesn't tell us anything at the end of the day. So I have a hard time determining that anything's really different based on this as the cause. So all of that's sort of not really the crux of the issue. The crux of the issue is, what are the options for moving forward on this, if there are any? And that's my question, Kurt.
Sure, Gary. So during we received the NOV and worked with DEP extensively back and forth. The issue of replacing this dam never came up in terms of DEP suggesting we need to replace it. There's always about other mitigation opportunities that we could do, which we are doing. But the issue of replacing the dam didn't come up. Obviously, DEP, if you want to do a permit or you want to do a dam, sure, do a dam. You can put in a permit. I don't think we've been given any sort of exclusive permission here to do a dam in this location. You have the option to do that. Dams, go for it. Have a permit. But I would keep in mind that, we've heard from residents here that want it replaced. That period of 2 weeks when my phone rang off the hook, I heard from Mike one day, hey, make sure it's put back, and then I hung up and heard from somebody else, hey, make sure it's, take this out, we don't want it there. So I think, again, if we're going to get into looking at this permit, this isn't as simple, let's just put it back the way it was. I think looking from DEP's perspective, we're looking at the waterway obstruction. Dams throughout the county, there's been others that have been removed in the Yellow Breeches Creek are kind of, a thing of the past in many respects.
I was going to ask you that because for the last, I don't know how many years, DEP's promoting the idea of
right.
Dams. What is the purpose of that initiative?
I don't have details on, the initiative and the purpose behind it. I'm just saying, in this case, I don't believe that it's simple enough to go and say, hey, we're just going to replace it. And everybody's going to say, yeah, this looks good. I think we're going to have two sides to a piece. I think there's going to be extensive hydraulic analysis that have to happen, which if that happens, I tend to agree with Gene that that's a DEP responsibility. They're the regulatory authority over that waterway. We were working under their permit. We had a violation, which we now have rectified. If there's additional mitigation that they believe needs to occur, then they should place that on pause, which they have not.
I guess in part, my concern here is if we make the effort to replace it, is DEP going to come through and ask us to remove it again in a year or two?
You have a permit, they won't.
Except that, I.
We've got to go and resolve that. You're right, we've got to resolve that
I think that's a
because
great, like, it
Here's
seems
my
it should
permit.
work that way.
show me
They
the,
saw all these
show me the permit.
plans, right? They knew that we were gonna put it back. They had the opportunity to come to us and say, Cumberland County, it's too high in some places, fix it, right? But they didn't even go there and look at it. They just said, take it out. I am so caught in.
Face-to-face meeting, let's do the face-to-face
I
meeting.
told them not to do that.
Every time I talk with them, they say there was no permit. So if we had one, that was really the purpose today. I started off saying, so we all get on the same page. What's real and what's speculation. So photographs are real. Those are real photographs. Data is real from the hooks down. That's data, not my data. So the facts are the water is much lower. I mean, Evan's been here 37 years. He can tell you it's lower. I've been there and I can say the only time it's this low is at the end of the summer when it's a kind of a drought. And it's not even summer. We're still in spring.
And maybe, the idea, and I live right on the creek too, so I look out my window and I see, in April and in May, when the water should be the highest, no matter what the rain level is, the water should always be the highest right after the winter. And I see rocks that I couldn't see the previous year, that were underwater the previous year. So maybe the thing to do is to come back in August and we, and you can see, the county's invested money to put in a boat launch. That's awesome. But what's the point of a boat launch if, we're gonna have mud by August?
Well, and it
not
was
gonna
like,
be
I guess I'm gonna rephrase that. We didn't invest it. It was demanded. Okay? So it's not like we went, we're not gonna do this rock dam. Instead, we're gonna do this. I mean, we were told, you're gonna mitigate this and you're taking that rock dam out. So, it is a lovely investment. I think people will enjoy it, and I get your point. But we wouldn't have been there where we needed to put in a boat launch if it hadn't been for DEP going, take your rock dam out, and now you've got to pay the piper.
I don't know what the boat launch has to do with.
That was,
Mike, that's a mitigation required of us through the NOV with the Department of the Army Corps of Engineers.
Is that the?
There's no financial penalties, you said earlier. There's no financial penalty.
Right.
It's sort of the construction of the boat launch.
That's on the east side, northeast side,
North side, the
Right.
Hampton Township Park.
right in front of, I'm sorry,
It's at the Hampton Township Park, just upstream of Orcs Bridge.
Concord Youth Park.
Oh, the
Yes.
park.
yes, yes.
So
Yes.
what's the point of the boat launch if you can't use the boat?
No, boat launch out there.
What's the point? I mean,
Is this the floating?
if you want people to use the boat launch, sounds like you need to fix the water level.
I really believe that is a conversation for DEP and the Army Corps of Engineers because they are the two entities that got us here. They are, we could go and put that rock dam back, permit, put it back. Are
So
they
who's
even
taking
gonna give
actions?
a permit?
Let's, who's taking actions and let's get a meeting with the DEP.
I think we should meet with DEP. I'm happy to meet with DEP. I'm interested to see if they are happy to meet with me.
Thank you.
They're not exactly the most responsive bureaucracy.
I
We
agree.
don't have to face that as a Zoom. Kirk, do you have any suggestions, or would you rather think on this for a little bit? I think the commissioners want to absorb some of this. I have to tell you, I still can't get, Vince had some very compelling evidence in terms of the water
This is
flow.
specific data.
And it's, at the end of the day, a creek is essentially a conveyance for excess surface water. It is not guaranteed at a particular height. So
the dam allows, in this particular case, passage between Orcs Bridge and Orcs Bridge. Without the dam, there are some kind of high spots, let's say, that you can't get through. I don't know why it was put in, but with the dam, you don't have to get out pretty much year round. If it's a really dry year, then okay, you have to get out. So that's another benefit. Maybe people stop coming down because you can't get through. Don't know.
Most of the water in kind of the Gwinnett, I used to be board member of the kind of Gwinnett Authority. And most of the water comes there is from springs.
Groundwater.
And it turns out that most of the water, when they did some dye testing, actually comes from other streams coming in there. So a lot of it, as you pointed out, is runoff. And thank goodness, the county as well as the township has put in mitigation efforts. So we don't have all the runoffs we used to have. But the majority of water coming down is from springs, Big Spring. And so it's a pretty steady amount.
Well, springs are also variable.
Yes, yes.
So, but I think my point still stands. Is the surface water
Yeah.
component is extremely variable. So I wish we had more facts, but well, what's the wishes of the board on this?
I am happy to sit down with the residents and DEP, and I'm hoping Mr. Stoner would come with me and talk about this. But I would be lobbying for a solution where DEP pays.
Yeah.
And that's the other variable here. Like, I don't know how much it costs to put a rock dam back. You know, I don't know.
Wouldn't you guys know that
The
since you
end
built the
game
last
is-
one?
Yeah. I mean, it's $30,000.
How much was the boat launch?
Still getting costs.
Okay.
I don't even understand boat launch. Why have a boat launch?
But that was, if I'm remembering correctly, and I do not have that letter in front of me.
Yeah, the boat launch was not something we come up with.
Right.
Hey, you know, as part of mitigation, let us do this. The boat launch was suggested by the Army Corps of Engineers as part of the notice of violation and mitigation for the causeway. We accepted that. So again, it wasn't our idea. We're trying to work with them to fix this. So that's what we're doing.
Kirk, in your opinion, is that location for a boat launch viable?
There's already one there. There's a small informal, folks just dragging their boats there. I think the intent was to improve that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Kirk, did I hear you right that to restore that rock, whatever it was, would cost $30,000?
I'll get the board the cost that we had because we had that on course account with the contract. It was like 27 something, but I'll get you final cost, which was us to remove that.
Yeah, if DEP would agree to pay for it, I'd support it. But
And does it cost us anything to file the permit?
But see, I think we can't just say, hey, we're gonna put this thing in tomorrow and everything's gonna be good.
Right.
You don't do anything in the middle of a waterway and put back in a dam that's gonna be quick, that's gonna be cheap. It's not gonna happen. It's gonna take a very long time to go through a permitting process, analyses. We're gonna have Mr. Blanchfield and the folks here today. As soon as we start that, there's gonna be another crew sitting over here saying, whoa, this is the worst idea in the world. So there's something there that needs to be looked at. This isn't our realm of authority. This is clearly DEP's authority as the regulatory agency over the Cumberland Creek. It's not Cumberland County. So as we look at a process like this, that if it's going to proceed and move forward, Cumberland County should not be leading it. We're a participant in that process, just like the residents on both sides of the issue would be. But it should be a process led by DEP since they have regulatory authority over the health and welfare of that stream. And if they believe that there's been irreparable damage done to the stream as part of this, and they need to let us know and work with us on mitigation. But to date, we haven't seen that.
Right. But it doesn't mean that won't change. You know, I mean,
It may
who
not.
knows,
It
right?
may not. I mean, if you go through a permitting process that comes out and says, you know, this isn't good for the health of the stream, and it may stay status quo. We don't know that. Things like this
it
will
seems
not
to
happen
me
quite
that we'd be
perfect.
much better off having some type of negotiated approach before filing any type of permit to
Yeah.
nowhere. So perhaps we could pursue some conversation with DEP.
There are no fees for the DEP.
Right, thank you. I didn't know that.
Yes.
I
And I
just-
verified that with the
like,
DEP. So there are no fees if a municipality, if the government submits it versus a private enterprise. So that's a benefit.
They make you pay in other ways.
Yeah.
I mean, you can submit the application and then start meeting. You can keep, you're right, the things are gonna take a long time.
Yeah.
They've already told me they would entertain a permit, so get the ball
And they would, I mean, they have to, that's their job, right? Their
Yeah.
job is to look out for the stream. So if someone's going to submit a permit, they have to look at it and they will look at it.
When do you think you'll have costs on
I have it back, it's, I'll put it to you at the end of the day. But again, that's the cost to remove it, if we're looking at, going back to the design, we have the design of the old dam, we had the elevation shots and everything that we're shooting for, pre-construction, and then we're told to remove it, so, it's there.
to have a full grasp of what options are? We have to see those cost numbers, both of the removal as also as well as reinstatement, so gives us a starting point at least.
Kirk, who has the authority to submit the permit other than the county?
Well,
Could they come to Gwinnett Watershed Associations? Question.
I'm not familiar enough with the permit, I don't know if you did any research on it.
No, other than look at it, no, I don't know who submitted.
Typically government agency.
Could the township submit it?
Good, yeah.
Yeah. See, I'm not convinced what's really causing water reduction. It's definitely the water level was lower in those two pictures. And the rocks that were removed, maybe it had some effect, but I don't think it's 100%. So,
But if I'm hearing you correctly, Mr. Blanchfield, the ultimate goal is to raise the water level.
Correct.
But before we do anything.
Put it back the way it was, which was the original plan. I mean, I'm sure the intent was to keep it, because that's spelled out in multiple documents. Status quo.
Here's the question I have. For one, its state of disrepair really prevents us from realistically calling it a dam, as I understand. So it obviously had some impact on the water flow. So my question, Kurt, is it would not seem to be a prudent move for us to necessarily move forward if what you're saying is accurate, that we have a divided opinion in the area on it. So is there some way to ascertain what the public opinion within the general region is?
Yes, again, I think it gets back to scope of authority. The DEP has a scope of authority over the health of our waterways. They have the experts on staff that can determine that. We don't. So trying for us to play the role of a mediator here of what's good or bad for the stream, who's right or wrong, it's not within our purview and not our scope of authority. I think we do our residents a disservice when we try to assume that responsibility. So it lies with DEP, and they have the experts that can look at it, tell us from a stream health standpoint. If we really, we're not restoring the dam, we're putting rocks back in the stream to a certain level that we have elevations for. If we do that, what are the impacts on water elevation? What are the impacts upstream, downstream, health of the stream? That's all the stuff they have in-house experts to do. We don't have that capabilities here. Nor do we have the authority to say what's right or wrong from a permit perspective.
If we filed for a permit, do they do all of the work? It's a lot of no's.
No, I would look, if we file a permit for us to build a dam, it's like we're doing a permit here. They didn't do the work on the permit.
They
We
do
did, right?
all of the studies.
Yeah, so that would fall here.
That would fall here.
We would have to do the studies.
No, the study. The question is, do they do the studies?
Study, yeah.
Like the hydrology or whatever.
I believe that would fall here. We're proposing a dam. Why would DEP study a dam that someone else is proposing? And that's where the cost come in, so make it a free permit application, but as Gary's, funding the studies could be costly.
Yeah, this is not about cost. That's why I asked, can we get some gauge on cost information is an important parameter for whatever decisions you reach here. But your point's well taken. It's, they have the regulatory responsibility for what's done there, so.
And DEP is well aware of the issue. During the 2-week period there, we were getting a lot of calls, and I forwarded a lot of those on. I knew that they were receiving comment from both sides on the issue, so very well aware of it. So if we do want to have further discussions, then it shouldn't come as a surprise that we were bringing the issue up.
It would seem the easiest place to be would be to go back to where it was, as far as both sides, then whether it's too high, too low, not enough water, too much.
Seems like that's a safe.
Yeah, no, it was a no harm, no foul situation, right? If it-
Right.
Right? But I still cannot get past the fact that
Yeah, I'm with
they
you.
just said, just take it out without seeing it.
Yeah.
And I really think there was some confusion between what is a causeway and what was that rock dam? And I have a feeling someone looked at that picture and thought that was a piece of a causeway. That when I read this, that's what
Yeah.
I truly believe happened.
Well, we have a number of questions still, so yes, sir.
I just have one point to make. My name is Kevin Hall. I also live on the creek as well. I've grown up in Point Ridge Farm. And I've been fishing in that same stretch of the creek going on roughly 20 years. And as far as construction of the dam, there was mention that it was basically reconstructed to its original provisions post removal initially. That's not exactly correct. When we looked at post-construction of the dam, it was, correct me if I'm wrong, full width rock wall. Is that?
Whenever we
Or
got,
90%.
90%.
By comparison to, I would say this is just, again, rough estimates, my eyeballing, probably 60% with 2 open channels on the sides.
Right.
So when you were fielding all of these angry phone calls from residents on the other side of the creek, whose elevation is lower than our side of the creek, of course, they're going to be upset because they immediately noticed the water level increase.
It was mud.
So for the comments that the dam didn't really have an effect on the water, it was rainwater, it wasn't rainwater. Within how long of that dam being replaced, how many people called your phone complaining about the elevation of the water?
it wasn't so much the elevation water, was complaining about the dam itself.
Just visual.
Yeah, that, why is this here? And you're right. I mean, we installed it. It was not to the pre-construction number. We had that, as part of the survey.
Right.
Yeah, it's matched.
Did DEP look at that at all, or they just called the
Sure.
phone and said, take
Well,
it out? I mean, post, because had they looked at it, they probably would have said, well, that's not the same dam that was there to begin with, for one. So,
Right, but they wouldn't come out.
no, that was part of the question.
Yeah,
Did
that's the
anybody
part
put
of the-
eyes on this thing, or did they just call and say, hey, look, you don't have a permit, remove it, or whatever the situation may be?
They actually sent us an email directing us to take it out. But
That was several days after, the complaints came in and they were looking at it as a causeway. So I think that's part of what Gene was saying, the misunderstanding.
Terminology.
Is it causeway or is it the remnants of the old dam? They believe it's a full-length causeway, which they have. But it was not, you're correct, it was not to pre-construction levels. We were getting there. We knew how high it was, we were getting there.
Right, I mean, I was in my backyard, of course, bus up.
in fact, I'm going to read this to you, okay? And I know this is all subject to rights answer. And I think it was already delivered to you, Mr. Blanchard. But here it is. DEP continues to get complaints about the dam that is still in place just upstream of the new Orrs Bridge Road crossing. Please note that the attached approved plan never authorized the causeway to be installed stream bank to stream bank. They thought it was a causeway. That's why I think that. That's the reason why I think they thought it was a causeway. And instead of coming out to the site and going, oh, you're trying to put that rock dam back, per all the photographs and per the plan,
Sure.
they went, take it out. And here we are, and it's completely unsatisfactory, right, to so many people.
It is, I just was trying to make that point, that I can see why people would be frustrated with the replacement. That's all. And yeah, some of that may have been rainwater on that, given whatever 2-week time period from when it was there to when it was removed again. I don't know, I'm not exactly sure how long it was there. I can say I immediately noticed this. It was huge, probably a foot in my
Well, I
backyard.
can see in the picture, what I'm seeing looks like it's huge.
Right.
What I see here, if this is what someone, if this is what someone assumed was going to be the rock dam, then it is huge. But I think the other piece that, hindsight is always 20/20, especially Mr. Blanchfield, when you put it up there and you can still see all of the, all the rock moving equipment behind it. I have a feeling there was also an assumption that, well, they finished it. But if you look at the equipment, I think a reasonable person would go, oh, it's probably not finished. It's a predicament, that's for sure.
I think a lot of people didn't even see it because it was next to the bridge.
Okay.
Almost couldn't as you're passing, but now that the bridge has moved further downstream, now this is right in the middle. It's like, what's that? Even if the old one was still there, you might say, what is that?
Mhm.
Maybe it should be next to the new bridge, just kind of almost hidden.
I think a possible way forward here, we've all kind of circled around the same concept of maybe some additional contact with DEP. And Kirk, I guess I would look to you for input on the best way to do that. But it would seem that if we have representation, at least one commissioner, maybe more if they're interested, to talk to folks at DEP, we need to get a better idea on what their intent was in the decisions they made and whether they have any flexibility toward something other than what has been arrived at, the resolution that's in place, their willingness to commit to that. If they are not, that sort of dictates our direction in a different way. And if we get to a point where we're looking for a solution at some point, the point at which we would have any discretion, then it seems to me we would have to determine what is the solution is, because if you have people say, take it out, you have people say, put it back, we need to somehow reconcile those two counter forces. So we're not at that point yet, obviously. So it seems the starting point is DEP. So I know you've had a lot of contact with them. Are we talking to the right person there?
Oh, sure, yeah. Sure. So we have the whole permit team to work with us. We have the folks in the South Central office are in charge of it. Talk to them, let them know. I mean, they're well aware of this. So if it shouldn't come as a surprise, talk to them a little more about some options. And if it's the desire of the board to organize a meeting to discuss it.
Okay. So
Let me just add on the point about the names and locations on the petition. Some people grew up here and then moved to Denver or and they grew up here and say, absolutely, that was a shallow creek to begin with. I don't want to see half the water, 3/4 of the water leaving. So these are all people that are from the community at one point in time.
I know many of these names are familiar to me.
Camp Hill and Mechanicsburg, probably 85%, 90%, and then you might see a Denver or something. Well, what's that all about?
So the woman I know lives right there. I worked out with her at the Y.
Okay.
My financial advisor signed it.
Okay. Good. Well, thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Look forward to hearing who will be the point person. Okay, perfect.
yeah, let's do it that way then. Okay, that's acceptable to everybody. We'll kind of move forward on a little bit more communicative with DEP and see if there's what the options are, if there's any interest in moving away from the resolution that's been agreed to at this point.
So the next step plan is to meet with the DEP, essentially.
Yes.
Okay. Good. Any comments from anybody?
Thanks for your time.
Thank you.
Appreciate it very much.
Thank you all.
Thank you, Mr. Lynchfield.
What do you think? Oh, I'm sorry.
Sorry.
Bye.
Sure.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. All right, we'll resume work to the agenda. We are at item 9. And let's see here, that is in regards to the Regional Transit Authority, the New Susquehanna Regional Transit Authority Articles of Incorporation. We were presented information on that last week. I had the opportunity to ask questions. This is just an early step in the process of the startup of that authority. So we'll have to file with the state and become an entity, legal entity. So are there any questions or comments in regards to that?
I would like to confirm so that the public knows this, that this step really and truly is only to approve the articles of incorporation so that the process of forming this entity can happen. This is by no means a financial agreement with the Susquehanna Regional Transportation Authority.
All right, with that said, we need action on this to move it forward. So entertain a motion.
I will move to approve the Susquehanna Regional Transportation Authority Articles of Incorporation.
Second.
Moved and seconded. All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Thank you. Okay, item 10 is the resolution regarding the Emergency Solutions Grant.
Move to approve Resolution 2021-18, which is the Redevelopment Authority of Cumberland County's Emergency Solutions Grant Act for 2021.
I second that motion.
It's moved and seconded. All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Okay, item 11, contracts and grants. As were reviewed at the workshop meeting last week, we of course have, as is standard, the existing contracts and grants segregated out from the new contracts and will require approval of any and all of these. Of course, you can propose these together or separate or any alternative means if you wish to segregate others out. So we'll look for action.
I will move to approve the contracts and grants at item 11 on the agenda, Roman numeral 1, A through C, and Roman numeral 2, A through G.
Second.
It's moved and seconded. Approval in entirety. So all in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Okay, item 12 is the revisions, proposed revisions to the county's key control policy, along with appendices that was reviewed last week.
Make a motion to approve the revisions to the Cumberland County Key Control Policy and appendices as was presented.
I second that motion.
It's moved and seconded. All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Item 13, we have an appointment for the Drug and Alcohol Commission's Community Advisory Board.
I am going to move to approve the reappointment of Bailey Whitebread to the Drug and Alcohol Commission Community Advisory Board for a 3-year term effective June 1 of 2020 and expiring May 31 of 2024.
I'll second the motion. Yeah, I was just checking the dates. Yeah, second.
Good. Okay, moved and seconded. All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Okay, item 14, general disbursements.
Make a motion to approve the general disbursement transfer authorizations as presented in item 14A through F.
Do you have a second?
I second that motion.
It's moved and seconded. All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Okay, moving on to item 15. We have the monthly reports in hand from the Recorder of Deeds, Donatary Clerk of Courts, as well as the Conservation District and the monthly change of assessments. All these are for the month of May. No actions required on that. Report that. They are in hand. So complete that and move on to other business. Do we have additional business, commissioners?
I have none.
Staff, anything additional? Nothing? Okay, in that case, I'll entertain a motion for adjournment.
Move to adjourn.